The gravity signature didn't make sense. Commander Elira Voss leaned over the holographic console, brow furrowed. Red spirals of data pulsed, warping a 3D map of Earth in real time. Something massive was moving, upward, from the planet's surface. "Run it again," she ordered. Her adjutant, a pale-skinned Eurex technician, nodded with twitching antennae. "Same results, Commander. 500,000 metric tons accelerating against gravity at 12.2 meters per second squared. No propulsion signatures. No assistance from orbital beacons." "That's impossible," Elira muttered. From the viewing deck of Primaxis, the Galactic Council's high-orbit research station, Earth looked unchanged, its swirling clouds, rich greens, deep oceans. Beautiful. Dangerous. A Death World-class Omega, the worst rating the Council could give a planet. High gravity, hyper-aggressive wildlife, unstable weather systems. A natural crucible. A prison. And now something inside it was moving as if it had never been imprisoned at all. The Council's silence crackled over her encrypted line before Chancellor Drex Hurl's voice slithered through. "Commander Voss, cease your scans. Earth is a dead zone. Let the ghosts lie. With respect, Chancellor, I don't believe this is a ghost. It's mechanical. Coordinated. A malfunction. Nothing more." Her jaw tensed. "It's not a malfunction. We're reading directed power bursts and seismic control. Someone's active down there." There was a pause. "You are not authorized to engage further. Return to perimeter observation. Do not make contact." The line went dead. Elira stared down at the blue marble below. The Council wanted her blind. Too bad. She turned to the Eurex. "Deploy the Pharos drone. Stealth mode. Minimum altitude." The technician hesitated. "Commander, that violates Council Directive 02-7A. "I'll take the reprimand." The drone launched with a silent shimmer, slipping into the atmosphere without leaving a trace. Elira walked to the viewport and waited. Seconds crawled. Then, "Visual acquired," the technician said, voice tight. The feed came online. They were supposed to see ash and decay. Ruins of old cities swallowed by time. Instead, the drone drifted over sleek towers hidden beneath thick cloud cover, almost invisible to satellite optic. What looked like jungle at a distance shimmered, camouflage. Massive alloy structures pulsed with internal heat. Below them, strange geometric patterns carved into Earth's crust glowed with structured energy. Elira leaned closer. "Those aren't ruins. They're launch platforms." Another technician gasped. "Commander, we're receiving a signal. It's analog. Narrowband. Audio only." She blinked. "Audio? English. Uncoded." A burst of static, then a voice, confident, rough, undeniably human. "To the ones who left us behind, welcome back." Elira's skin prickled. More signals emerged, point-to-point bursts, heavily encrypted. The Council had missed it all. Earth hadn't died. It had gone dark on purpose. Her mind raced. The official records claimed the last Earth nations collapsed 500 years ago under the stress of ecological chaos and civil war. Refugees were taken off-world, those who survived. The rest, the Council said, were lost to gravity. They weren't lost. They were hiding. Planning. She opened a secure line to Drek. No answer. Of course not. The feed from the drone jerked suddenly. Something blurred past the lens. "Abort, pull it back," Elira ordered. Too late. The feed vanished. Static. The drone was gone. "Was that an intercept?" the technician whispered. Elira's voice dropped. Something hit it. With precision. She stared at the dark Earth below, her heart pounding. Whoever was down there didn't just survive. They had eyes on the sky. They saw the drone, tracked it, and destroyed it in flight. "Send all data to secure drive." "No uplink," she said. The team obeyed. Even they sensed the change. She walked to her private chamber, hands shaking only once the door sealed behind her. Pulling out her personal logpad, she began a classified report. To High Command. Earth is no longer dormant. Humanity has not only survived Omega-class conditions, they've evolved, adapted, and constructed infrastructure beyond Council estimation. Recommend immediate reassessment of Earth's classification and strategic threat level. They're not waiting for us. They're preparing for something. Commander Elira Voss. She sat in silence. No noise except her own breath. Then, from her private console, another ping. Unmarked transmission. Not from Primaxis. Not from any recognized node. It was a live feed. The screen blinked to life, showing a single figure. A man, seated calmly inside what looked like a command module. Behind him, consoles flickered in old Terran script. The gravity around him didn't pull like it should. He floated subtly, balanced, effortless in 1G. He smiled. "You've seen us now," he said. "That changes things." Elira couldn't speak. "I know the Council will panic. Let them. But you..." He leaned forward slightly, eyes sharp, voice steady. "You're curious. That's good. Curiosity built starships. It also built us." "Who are you?" she asked. He smiled wider. "We are Earth. You thought gravity would keep us down forever. You misunderstood the point." The screen cut to black. Elira stared at the blank screen long after the message ended. The man's voice still echoed in her ears. Not arrogant, not pleading. Just certain. Calm certainty was more dangerous than bravado. It meant control. Control meant planning. She replayed the footage of the Earth's surface, now stored securely on an isolated drive. The cloaked cities. The geometric launch sites. The controlled energy emissions. Every second rewrote what she'd been taught. Earth wasn't buried under chaos. It was humming with purpose. A soft chime broke her thoughts. Her adjutant's voice followed, quiet, tense. "Commander, I've cross-checked the drone's last telemetry with archival data from pre-severance Earth. One of the megastructures aligns with an old launch facility, Kennedy Space Center. Location was submerged 300 years ago." Elira narrowed her eyes. "But the topography is stable?" "Yes, and elevated. Artificial terrain added. Hundreds of meters, maybe more. And internal heat signatures. Something big is active under the surface." She nodded. "Hide it in the old scars. Clever." Before she could respond, a new alert pulsed. "Commander," the Yorex said, "we're receiving another analog signal. Audio only. No carrier ID. Play it." The transmission crackled to life. A woman's voice this time, firm, unhurried. "To the Council, you left us. Assumed we'd fall under our own gravity. You underestimated how pressure forges steel. What you called a death sentence we made a crucible. Earth taught us resilience. Isolation taught us unity." A pause. "We were never lost. We were becoming." The message ended. Elira sat back, breath shallow. No threats. No demands. Just truth. "Do we know where it originated?" she asked. The technician shook his head. "Signal bounced off old orbital debris. They're masking the source." Of course they were. These humans weren't fumbling out of the dark. They were playing by rules the Council didn't expect from survivors. She returned to the main deck. Outside the viewport, Earth rotated peacefully. Nothing on the surface betrayed what lay hidden below. "Not yet." "Elira," said a deep voice behind her. She turned. Chancellor Drex's face glared from the center comms console, projected 2 meters tall. His eyes were cold as polar gas. "I ordered you to cease investigation. Explain yourself." She didn't flinch. "Council assessments are outdated. Earth is active. We've confirmed energy emissions, advanced infrastructure, and encrypted communication. We've been blind, Chancellor." His scaly brow twitched. "And your reaction is to breach protocol?" "I acted to understand. You should be asking why they've stayed silent until now." Drex's voice darkened. Humanity's silence was their surrender. "Then why are they speaking now? Why are they climbing out of gravity with tech that rivals our own?" A long pause. "You will not engage them again. You will transmit all data to Central Command and await retrieval. This matter is above your authority. The feed cut without farewell. Elira's hands tightened on the edge of the console. She could feel it. Drex was scared. And scared men don't seek truth. They try to bury it. She walked to her quarters again, sealing the door. There, she accessed the intercepted voice messages again, this time running linguistic forensic. Inflection, cadence, syntax, identifiable traits of language evolved under pressure. The analysis shocked her. No major drift. No linguistic breakdown. They hadn't devolved, they had refined. The AI flagged the structure of phrases as military brief code, language trimmed to maximize clarity and impact. No wasted words. Every sentence built to instruct, persuade, or lead. And then, tucked in the metadata of one message, she found a name. Project Gravemark. She froze. Gravemark was a council term. One used centuries ago to refer to theoretical gravity manipulation, hypothetical tech that could counteract mass and escape planetary wells without propulsion. The project had been abandoned due to unworkable physics. And yet, here it was, tagged casually in a human broadcast. She summoned her adjutant. I want a sweep. Pull old council archives, everything labeled Gravemark, encrypted or buried. I want it decrypted and cross-referenced with Earth's output from the last 48 hours. That may trip alarms, Commander. Let them trip. She paced as the system churned. 10 minutes later, the results came through. A match, a gravity well anomaly recorded 2 days ago. Location, Central Africa. Pulse strength, enough to lift an aircraft carrier. The timestamp matched the initial signal that drew their attention. They weren't just building structures. They were testing engines. Elira, the adjutant whispered. If they've cracked gravity control. She didn't answer. A soft ping drew her eyes to her personal console. Another incoming message. This one not from Earth, but from deep in CouncilNet. Anonymous. No subject. Just a single line. They're not breaking out. They're breaking through. She stared at the message, pulse racing. This was no accident. This wasn't humanity stumbling upward with rediscovered toys. It was a reentry. Not into space. Into the galactic order. A moment later, her console flashed one last alert, brief but unmistakable. Unidentified object launched from Earth. Trajectory, outbound. Velocity, escape confirmed. No signature. No propulsion trace. No request for orbital clearance. Just silence as the object pierced gravity and disappeared into deep black. Elira whispered, "They've done it." And for the first time in her life, she felt the weight of Earth's gravity from 22,000 kilometers away, not as a pull but as a warning. In the vast stillness beyond Earth's upper atmosphere, where no sound traveled and even starlight seemed to hesitate, something moved. It wasn't fast, at first. No rockets, no ion trails, no artificial gravity slings like the Council used. It just rose, smooth and deliberate, as if gravity had been asked politely to let go. Commander Elira Voss watched from the main observation deck of Primaxis. Every officer on the station stood behind her, eyes fixed on the screen. Even the Yorex technician, normally unshakable, seemed stunned. The object had no registration, no blinking beacon. Matte black, hexagonal contours, no visible seams. Magnify, Elira said. The image zoomed in, stabilizing. The vessel wasn't large. Smaller than most Council corvettes, but its design screamed purpose. No wasted space. No obvious weapons. A single symbol was etched onto its front, a stylized feather, silver on black. Her adjutant stepped forward, voice hushed. Feather? Elira nodded. Old Earth metaphor. Flight. Freedom. They've launched a ship without asking for entry into the galactic grid, the technician said, voice rigid with disbelief. That's an act of... No, Elira interrupted. That's not aggression. She stepped closer to the screen. That's a message. Below, in the bowels of Earth, deep beneath layers of hardened alloy and jungle-grown disguise. Dr. Elon Merrick stood before Gravemark 1, heart hammering. He was not a soldier, not a tactician, but he had designed the ship's internal systems, its energy routing, its hull composites, its balancing gyros. And now it was flying. After 6 decades of silent preparation, their kindred had launched humanity's first gravitic vessel. A woman's voice came through the console. Lieutenant Sarah Holt, pilot of Gravemark 1. We are now 500 kilometers up. Flight stable. No gravitational pull detected. We are free of planetary lock. Applause broke out across the command chamber, tight, restrained, but genuine. Elon let out a slow breath. Power levels? Nominal. Reactor efficiency stable at 97%. Any contact? No intercepts. No hails. No immediate aggression. He turned to the overseer, a tall man cloaked in gray synthetic fiber, his eyes like steel buried in ice. We've been seen. The overseer nodded. Good. Elon hesitated. The council will interpret this as defiance. They already abandoned us once. We owe them no explanations. From the center of the room, a panel opened. A sphere rose, fist-sized, humming with soft blue light. The signal beacon? Elon asked. The overseer spoke quietly. Not for war. For memory. The beacon's signal, once triggered, would reach out to every listening post in the quadrant. It didn't carry coordinates or weapons codes or demands. It carried one thing: history. Earth's history. The censored records, the erased voices. Everything the Council buried when they wrote Earth off as a failed world. The overseer turned to Elon. Broadcast. Elon pressed the switch. Back aboard Primaxis. Commander, the Yorex said, voice tight. We're receiving a broadwave. Non-standard protocol. Frequency burst billions of packets. Origin. Earth. Or just above it. From that ship. Elira tapped the console. The signal flooded her screen. Visuals, audio, data streams. She parsed one file, a video, blurry at first, then sharp. Human children running across cracked pavement, laughing. Tents pitched under floodlights. People rebuilding cities. Engineers salvaging wreckage into drones. Soldiers training in gravity 3 times heavier than Council baseline. Then, fusion fires underground. Blackouts endured. Storms survived. Quantum code deciphered in hand-built labs. The death world hadn't killed them. It had refined them. The video faded, replaced by a single message. We did not die. We evolved. Earth taught us what you feared to learn. How to rise when no one lifts you. Silence followed. Then chaos. Council channels lit up. Elira's console pinged with urgent summons. Encrypted queries, demand pings from Central Command, and direct messages from Drek. She ignored them all. Commander, her adjutant whispered. They're broadcasting truth. Elira nodded slowly. And doing it with restraint. No weapons. No threats. Just proof. A new alert blinked. Object from Gravemark 1 has detached, the Yorex said. Trajectory suggests deliberate delivery. What kind of object? Uncertain. Approximately 10 kilograms. Metallic. No radiation. Currently descending to our orbit. Elira narrowed her eyes. Visual. The feed showed a tiny black pod drifting gently toward them. No propulsion. No encryption. Coasted on silent math. Retrieve it, she said. No weapons. Bring it inside. Minutes later, in the docking chamber, the pod rested in containment, inert. A circular plate on its front read simply, "To the Watchers." Elira stepped forward and touched the pad. It opened with a soft hiss. Inside was a single book. Real pages. Bound in leather. She lifted it. No explosives. No trap. Just embossed letters. The last 5 centuries. An Earth retrospective. She opened the first page. The handwriting was neat, fluid, unmistakably human. If you're reading this, then you know we're alive. You were right to fear Earth. But not because we're monsters. Because we learned to survive without you. And now we choose to walk forward. Not behind. Not below. But beside. Alira closed the book, breath unsteady. They weren't returning to the galaxy with warships. They were returning with truth. And somehow that was more terrifying. Council Hall Xeron stood suspended in low orbit above the emerald gas giant Elker, 1,000 kilometers wide and as ancient as the political body it served. The council chamber was a cathedral of power, 12 tiers of tiered seats circling a holographic core that projected disputes, declarations, and the occasional admission of failure. Today, that core showed one thing: Earth, spinning slowly, blue, unassuming, lethal. Chancellor Drex stood at the central dais, cloaked in ceremonial crimson, his voice firm but strained. They've violated galactic protocol, launched an unauthorized vessel, transmitted unsecured mass data, deployed untraceable technology. This, he gestured toward the hologram, is defiance. Some murmured in agreement. Others remained still. From her remote chamber on Primaxis, Alira's image stood tall in a side projection, projected in real time. She didn't bow, didn't soften. They sent no threats, no weapons, no demands. What they've offered is transparency. They've offered shame, Drex snapped. A curated narrative designed to provoke sympathy. That book, a handwritten relic, has destabilized 8 planetary colonies. Youth uprisings. Demands for historical reform. They are manipulating the past. Alira's eyes stayed level. Maybe because the past was manipulated long before they did. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Drex bristled. You defend them now? I acknowledge them, she replied, voice like a blade drawn, not swung. They did what no species has managed. They rebuilt under isolation. Broke free of gravity using technology we failed to replicate. They've returned not with war, but witness. That should disturb us more than any weapon. Counselor Vornix, an insectoid from the Draliv League, leaned forward. How do we know this isn't a prelude? A psychological campaign before military action? Alira opened a second transmission on the shared screen. Gravemark 1, still in orbit around Earth. Its engines cold. No movement. Because they're waiting. Not advancing. Another counselor, Morella of the Scion Reach, glanced at her display. One ship. That's all they've shown. Alira nodded. And that one ship achieved what our fleet scientists have failed to crack for 3 centuries. Localized gravitational disengagement without external force. That isn't just a ship, it's proof of concept. A quiet fell over the chamber. She pressed a final key. A wave of telemetry filled the room. Yesterday, their vessel dropped a probe onto Lovis 4, the Council's farthest listening post. Inside was another book. This one, titled Survivor Ethics. A new hologram flickered to life. Survival is not dominance. It is resilience with memory. We do not seek war. We only ask that you look at what was forgotten, and why. The message ended. Drex turned slowly. They're manipulating perception. Alira met his gaze without blinking. No. They're presenting it. You're afraid of what happens when people believe it. He hissed. And you, Commander Voss, what do you believe? She paused, the chamber waiting on her breath. I believe they never stopped being part of us. We stopped being part of them. Back aboard Gravemark 1. Sarah Holt drifted in microgravity, staring through the reinforced viewport. Earth filled the frame, vast, beautiful, deceptive. She had never seen it from this high. No one alive had. Not with their own eyes. Elon, she called into the comms. His voice crackled through. Go ahead. There's something poetic about it. How small it looks from here. After all it did to us. He chuckled softly. Still scared. Terrified. But not of the planet. Of what comes next. She turned and glanced at the book beside her. The one she'd brought with her, against orders. Her grandmother's journal. One line haunted her every time she opened it. They thought silence meant surrender. It didn't. It meant we were listening. Status? Elon asked. All systems green. Power stable. Gravitics cold. No anomalies. She took a slow breath. Permission to power engines and begin test vector? Elon hesitated. You sure? We've sent the message. Now we show the reach. Inside the council hall, alarms rang across the chamber. Live feeds flickered red. Update, barked Drex. A technician's panicked voice replied. Gravemark 1 has powered up. Trajectory lock on outer orbit of Tau core belt. Drex frowned. That's council airspace. They're not approaching any installation, Elira cut in. They're demonstrating capability. Intervene, he ordered. Scramble interceptors. Elira's voice turned cold. You'll make them martyrs. They're trespassing. They're testing. Let them finish it. Sarah's voice echoed in Elon's earpiece. Acceleration nominal. Grav field holding. No stress fractures. Vector initiated. The stars stretched slightly, a shimmer at the edges of her vision. She grinned. We're gliding through the void like a whisper. The ship passed the moon in seconds, past Mars in minutes. No fuel. No thrust. Just math. Just precision. Just earthborn will. She didn't realize her voice had dropped to a whisper. We're coming home to the stars. In Council Hall, the technician's voice cracked. They made the jump. Across 100 million kilometers. No propulsion signature. No casualties. Dead silence followed. Elira looked around the chamber. Counselors, this was never about a threat. It was a demonstration. A pause. They're not begging to be accepted back. They're reminding you they were never truly gone. The deep black between stars had never felt so vast, nor so quiet. Gravemark 1 now coasted just beyond the Tau core belt, a place once mapped by probes, now touched by human hands. It wasn't conquest. It was arrival. Inside the ship, Elon drifted near the central command console, watching as planetary telemetry and navigational readouts pulsed calmly. No enemy vessels. No jamming. Just silence, pregnant with meaning. Sarah's voice came through soft but steady. We held together. Elon nodded, more to himself than anyone. No explosions, no gravitational anomalies. First human-built gravitic vessel beyond the Earth system. That's history. Funny, she replied. I thought it'd feel like triumph. But it feels more like standing on a doorstep. He didn't respond right away. He didn't have to. They were waiting for something they couldn't name. Permission? A signal? An answer? Council Hall Xeron. Drex was pacing, a rare crack in his usual controlled presence. 1,000-year tradition of unchallenged supremacy was beginning to feel paper-thin. Elira stood at the far end, facing the open projection of Gravemark 1's real-time feed. The ship simply floated there, lit by the pale light of a nearby dwarf star. They aren't moving, she said. Which makes them a perfect target, Drex muttered. They could have moved. They could have bypassed our detection grids and entered core territory by now. So why haven't they? Demanded Counselor Vornix, his antennae twitching. Elira turned slowly. Because that's not their purpose. They're showing restraint. Another feed opened, an encrypted signal. It came from the human vessel. One phrase, spoken in clear galactic standard. Requesting formal audience with the Council. Civil terms. No conditions. The room went still. Drex scoffed. They think they can walk into this chamber after centuries of isolation and dictate the terms? They're not dictating, Elira corrected. They're inviting. Gravemark 1 a conference bay. Sarah adjusted her uniform collar in front of a small polished panel doubling as a mirror. It wasn't ceremonial, just simple black with a single silver thread woven through the shoulder. A nod to their history, not a badge of superiority. You're sure you want to go yourself? Elon asked, arms folded. If it's anyone else, it's a political delegation. If it's me, it's a message. Message being? She looked him in the eye. That we still believe in meeting face to face. No masks, no pride. Just proof that we're still human. He sighed. Then go make history. The council welcomed her with silence. Sarah stepped onto the central dais beneath the council's watchful gaze. No guards. No restraints. No grand entrance. Just her. She stood still for a beat before speaking. I won't waste your time with apologies or justifications. We know what Earth became. A prison. A sentence. You expected us to fracture, to decay. She took a slow breath. We nearly did. Counselor Morella frowned. And yet you claim advancement. Gravitic flight? Civil cohesion? From a planet that was poisoned. Sarah turned slightly, not defensively but deliberately. It wasn't the poison that nearly ended us, it was the silence. The isolation. The erasure. You condemned a world, but not a people. And we survived despite that. Drex rose, regal and seething. You come now, flaunting new technology, assuming moral high ground. What exactly do you want from us? Sarah met his gaze. Nothing. Not reparations. Not territory. Not war. She lifted a small rectangular object from her belt and placed it gently on the projection altar. A book, she said. Made from tree pulp and ink. Written by a survivor of the Earth lockdown. It's not propaganda. It's memory. It's truth. And it's just the first of many. The hologram flared to life, revealing handwritten words and hand-sketched map. Pages turned. Diagrams, poems, testimonies. Raw. Unfiltered. Painful. Morella leaned forward, transfixed. You preserved this? We did more than preserve. We remembered. In every city we rebuilt, we left libraries. In every home, oral history. We didn't let your silence erase us. Drex's voice cut the air. And now you think this relic, entitles you to stand as equals? No, Sarah said. It shows that we never stopped being your equals. Even when you tried to forget us. Another wave of silence. A long one. Then Elira stepped forward. Her voice soft but firm. I read the first book your probe sent. It made me question everything I learned growing up. Not just about Earth, but about the Council. About our duty to truth. She looked to the chamber. Are we so afraid of them because they threaten us? Or because they shame us with what we lost while looking away? No one answered. Later, Gravemark won. Sarah re-entered the ship slowly. Elon was waiting at the airlock, arms crossed. Well, I think, she said with a smile, we didn't leave empty-handed. You think they'll invite us back into the council? She shook her head. That's not the point. He tilted his head. Then what is? She looked through the viewport again. Earth was far now. A dot. We didn't go back to beg. We went to remind them, and ourselves, that we still belong in the stars. Not because of power, but because of perseverance. Council Hall Xeron. The vote wasn't immediate. It wouldn't be. The bureaucracy of pride moved slow. But as Sarah's ship retreated into deep space, a message was logged in the Council archives. Just 3 lines. Humanity re-established long-range capability. Gravitational mastery confirmed. Cultural transmission accepted. And beneath it, unsigned but noted. Status. Observer status consideration pending. Final scene. On a quiet observation deck aboard Gravemark 1, Sarah sat alone, watching the endless starfield. She held the original journal in her hands, its cover cracked, its pages soft from use. A line flickered in her mind, one she hadn't shared. If we ever escape gravity, let them remember, it was not our strength that lifted us, but our refusal to stay down. She smiled. They were still climbing.